Did you know that Brazil was a Portuguese colony from 1500 to 1822, 322 years? Brazil was also the last country in the Western Hemisphere in slavery. Close to the 21st century, Brazil had a high illiteracy rate, roughly 85%. Now, who was Paulo Freire? In 1921, Paulo Freire was born in Recife, Brazil, to a middle-class family. In the 1930s, the economic depression negatively impacted Freire's family, and they had to relocate from the city to a smaller, cheaper place when he was only 10 years old. The economic depression was very hard on Freire's family. His dad died from stress. He was often hungry. He eventually dropped out of elementary school and he would sometimes resort to stealing. A local secondary school gave Freire a second chance, and eventually he studied philosophy and law and started teaching at his alma mater. So, what was Paulo Freire's philosophical background? At the age of 26, Freire became the director of the Department of Education and Culture and began conducting literacy programs for poor adults. He then started to develop his theory about oppression, literacy, and educational praxis. Brazil's history has greatly impacted Freire's ideology of social justice. His formula for social justice considers four critical components: literacy, social insight, revolution, and national economic development. His ideas about the role of education and political freedom are significant in the theory of critical pedagogy. Freire's educational philosophy promotes interactive and authentic education, which opposes the banking model of education. The banking model maintains that students are empty vessels waiting to be filled with knowledge from an all-knowing teacher. Why does Paulo Freire criticize the banking model? Well, similar to how a colonizer thinks, the banking model of education believes the system's approach is always best. This model discourages critical thought. It perpetuates oppression and it dehumanizes individuals. Freire asserts that the ultimate goal of all persons is to increase their humanity, not to decrease it. As such, he believes that effective education is built upon a more democratic relationship where teachers and students are seen as equals, learning from one another. Freire believes this approach promotes critical awareness that precedes action, allowing students to become aware of the contradictions in their conditions and then take actions to resolve these contradictions. What are some of the highlights of Paulo Freire's principles of social justice? Education is a practice of freedom. Freire's theory emphasizes the see, judge, act system for social justice, where students recognize inequality and authoritarianism and take action to resolve these issues. An education system should emphasize education as an act of culture and freedom, liberating the oppressed who can now question every aspect of society. Literacy means critical consciousness. Essentially, this means revolution. Love must be at the core of the education system. It is the essence of dialogue. Love drives progress. Social movements are important for social change. These are a few highlights of Freire's contribution to the discussion on ethics and social justice. So, how can Freire's theory be applied in the classroom? Educators should be tactical and strategic in engaging with the system. The educator is critical to the freedom of students, promoting creativity and students' investigative capacity. Educators must transform their learning environments from a traditional teaching and learning routine to environments that allow students to directly make connections between the school curriculum and real life situations. This practical approach to teaching will help students to develop a level of awareness and understanding that is essential to navigate daily life and to respond to the contradictions and challenges in society which require some attention and solution.